So our very simple, keep it simple timing model for things like RRSP and mutual fund and 401k investing. So this is the bearish cross that I'm making reference to. And you can see that in essence, up, down, up. At this point here, you got to be thinking, oh boy, we got some major problems, right? That's a weekly price chart. So notice that that was in December, and really the moving average cross, look at that. That was in October of 2007. So just fathom that. The market told you to get out of the great financial crisis in October of 2007. Keep in mind, the election was not until November of 2008. There's the election where George Bush and his cronies got run out of Washington on a rail. And of course, Obama came in, and Obama was just full of horseshit. Change, change, change. Vote for me and I'll give you change. And he absolutely changed nothing. So the point here is that, there's the sell signal for the great financial crisis way up there. Not over here where the public's talking about this shit. It's up here. So I like to follow these moving averages. And really that's where the sell signal is. So fast forward today, because I don't think if you watch the movie The Great Short, there were so many little pieces of anecdotal evidence that there was a top coming in the U.S. housing market, right? Things like he goes and tours the developments out in the Midwest, and there's guys writing loans right, left, and center, and they haven't got a clue what they're doing. And they're totally scamming the system. And then, he goes to the development. There's people wandering around. Everybody's got for sale signs, blah, 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 all that, right? So there was lots of anecdotal evidence. I would just simply say this was a perfect example of the guys that were in power for basically. And it's interesting, right? So George Bush and his cronies, right? They came to power right in this window here, right? No, not there. When's the election? The election was, November. So October, November. So they took power there. And interestingly enough, man, did George Bush Jr., did he ever have to endure a crappy market for a while, eh? So then, of course, we all know what happened in here and all that fun stuff. So they hit the reset button. Anyway, so here's George Bush's bull market. Lost another loan to Ditech, and you remember all that kind of talk. You can see there was a couple of head fake signals, right? So you were told. Okay, I don't want to get into this. Anyway, the point here is that was the sell signal 07. I think the anecdotal evidence through this was things like I remember telling you guys that in early 2008 we had a scandal in Canada all around a company called ABC Paper, which is basically investing in lower grade paper, and unfortunately the junk status, the names that they were investing, they went under. And the paper basically went into default, and and it's gone, all that shit. So all that started to surface in early 2008. This part of the cycle, and then of course probably you guys now, as these kind of minor names all started blowing up. Well, then that led to things like a place called Bear Stearns. And you probably have heard of him. And actually, interesting enough about Bear, it was made reference to in that Big Short movie. And it's hilarious that we were even talking about this the other day. Jim Cramer on CNBC was saying, yeah, invest in Bear Stearns, good quality company, and boom. Then that led to things like Lehman Brothers, right? And of course, we all know the story about Lehman Brothers. And then that led to AIG. And AIG was just too big to fail. If AIG went under, then the whole damn thing was going to collapse. And of course, and then also too, there's also sort of de facto in here the auto companies, because GM, we used to joke that GM was really a finance company, and it had this odd side business of selling these stupid things called cars. So the point here is when it got as bad as this, where GM paper, and if you've ever seen it, if you ever shop the money market, you see that these auto dealers, Ford paper, Daimler paper, GM paper, they're a lot of fucking paper in the market. You know, like the euro dollar market. I've shown you the size of the euro dollar market. That's these guys. Okay, so the point of the matter here is lots of anecdotal evidence along the way. And then by the time we get to this is where the public is like screaming, you know, there's bankruptcy talk, bailouts, the whole thing too big to fail, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, well, was there any tells that there were problems developing? And yeah, there were, but just nobody wanted to listen. Okay, let's fast forward to today. Now, does anybody want to listen to Evergrande? Are people actually respecting the message out of Evergrande? I don't know whether they are. Suppose if we use our weekly investing signal, looks like we were told to get the out, excuse my French, a year ago. Uh-oh. Does this not look a little familiar? Doesn't that kind of look good? If you come to the market now and you're like, well, you know, was there any, warning that maybe? How about things like, it's so tragic, but, you know, how about things like that Jack Ma? Is that an anecdote that you should have been aware of? I think so. How about Jackie Chan? Was that an anecdote that you should have been aware of? I think so. You know, these are just little tells about society. You know, and we don't need to get into Chinese tennis players and that kind of stuff. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that I get the feeling that Evergrande, and I don't even know if I'm spelling it right. If I'm not, my apologies. I think this is like one of those sort of steps along the way. And I don't know whether you guys saw the other day, I thought it was interesting. Is Tether going to be wrapped up in this shit? It might. You don't know. They've been saying that, at least the talk is, that Tether didn't have 100% backing of its coin, and in fact, a lot of the assets they were invested in were Chinese paper. Oh no, you're kidding me. So if this whole thing falls apart and it turns into an absolute disaster, number one, you can say, and this is what I want you to learn from this, is we had plenty of warning that this was a sell. Now, a full year ago, folks. This is not today. This is not even yesterday. This has been developing for a full year.